This happened to me in February 2023 when I was 19. I was a freshman at Penn State and it was winter break. My parents had gone on a cruise to the Caribbean, one of those last-minute deals they'd found online. My older brother was supposed to stay home with me, but 3 days before they left, he got called in for some work emergency in Boston. So it ended up being just me, alone in our house in the suburbs of Pittsburgh for a week. I was honestly pretty excited about it. I'd never had the whole house to myself before, and I was already planning to have some friends over, stay up late gaming, basically do whatever I wanted. My mom made me promise I'd keep my phone on me at all times and check in twice a day. I said, yeah, whatever, just trying to get them out the door. The first couple days were great. I had my buddy Mike over, and we played Call of Duty until like 4 a.m. I ordered Domino's 3 nights in a row. I felt like an adult, independent. My parents texted every day asking if everything was okay, and I'd send back all good with a thumbs up. On Thursday night, I was in my room around 10 p.m., scrolling through TikTok, when I heard the garage door start to open. That distinctive grinding sound, you know the one. I froze for a second, confused. My parents weren't supposed to be back for 3 more days. I got up and went to my bedroom window. I could see the driveway from there. The garage door was fully open now, and the light inside was on, but there was no car pulling in. Nobody was there. I figured maybe I'd accidentally hit the garage door button somehow. We had remotes in the house, and maybe I'd sat on one or something. I went downstairs to close it. When I got to the door that connects the house to the garage, I stopped. Something felt off. The garage was empty. My parents had taken their car to the airport, but I could hear something, like someone moving around. "Hello," I called out. No response. The sound stopped. I should have closed the garage door from inside the house and called the police right then, but I convinced myself I was being paranoid. It was probably just something falling off a shelf. We had a lot of junk stored out there, so I walked into the garage. I looked around. Nothing seemed disturbed. The side door that leads to the backyard was closed. Everything looked normal. I hit the button to close the garage door and went back inside. I locked the connecting door and tried to shake off the weird feeling. About an hour later, I heard it again. The garage door opening. That same grinding sound. I pulled up the garage camera on my phone. My dad had installed cameras a few months ago, after someone's car got broken into down the street. The live feed showed the garage door wide open again, but I didn't see anyone. I called out from the connecting door, not opening it this time. "Is someone there?" Nothing. Just silence. This time, I was genuinely freaked out. I closed the garage door using the app on my phone and watched the camera feed. As the door came down, right before it closed completely, I saw it. Someone's hand reached under the door from outside, like they were trying to stop it from closing. The door safety sensor kicked in, and the door started going back up. My heart was racing. I watched on my phone as a person, I couldn't see their face, just their body from the chest down, ducked under the rising door and into my garage. "Oh, fuck," I whispered. I should have called 911 immediately, but instead I did something incredibly stupid. I grabbed a baseball bat from the hall closet and opened the connecting door. "I can see you on the camera," I yelled into the garage. "I'm calling the police right now." I heard movement, fast, like someone running. Then the side door to the backyard slammed. I ran into the garage, just in time to see the door swinging shut. I should have let them go and locked everything up, but I was angry and pumped full of adrenaline. I wanted to see who it was, so I ran to the side door and yanked it open. My backyard was dark. We had motion sensor lights, but they weren't coming on for some reason. I could barely make out the fence line. "Get out of my yard!" I shouted, holding the bat. That's when I heard my phone buzz in my pocket. A text from an unknown number. "I'm not in your yard anymore." My blood ran cold. I spun around and looked back at the garage. The connecting door to the house, the one I'd just come through, was closing. Someone was inside. I ran back toward the house, but the door clicked shut before I could reach it. Locked. They'd locked it from inside. I tried the handle, yanking on it. "Open the fucking door!" I could hear footsteps inside my house, walking around on the first floor. I pulled out my phone and finally called 911. "Oh, someone's in my house," I told the dispatcher, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm locked outside in the garage." She asked for my address and told me to stay where I was. Officers were on the way. I stood there in the dark garage, listening to someone walk through my house. I could hear them going upstairs. They were in the hallway. Then I heard my bedroom door open. "They're in my room," I told the dispatcher. She told me police were 2 minutes away. I heard sirens in the distance. The footsteps upstairs stopped. Then I heard running, fast, down the stairs, through the kitchen. The back door slammed. I ran out the side door of the garage and around to the back of the house, still on the phone with 911. I got there just in time to see someone hop over our back fence and disappear into the neighbor's yard. The police arrived maybe 30 seconds later. I met them in the driveway, shaking and out of breath. "He went that way." I pointed toward the back. "Over the fence." 2 officers went to search the perimeter, while another one stayed with me. He asked what happened, and I explained everything. The garage door, the camera, me chasing them outside like an idiot. "You chased them," he said, looking at me like I was crazy. "I know," I said. "I wasn't thinking." They checked the whole house. Nothing was missing, but my bedroom was a mess. Drawers were open. Stuff was thrown around. Whoever it was had been looking for something. The officer who'd searched outside came back and said there was no sign of anyone in the neighboring yards. They'd gotten away. We reviewed the garage camera footage, and the person had been hiding behind some boxes in the corner of the garage. That's why I didn't see them when I first went out there. They'd waited until I went back inside, then opened the garage door from the inside using the wall button. When I came back out after seeing them on camera, they'd run to the side door to make me think they left, but they'd actually circled back and come into the house while I was distracted. The side door had been unlocked the whole time. I'd forgotten to check it. "How'd they know the side door was unlocked?" I asked. The officer showed me something on the camera footage from earlier that day. Around 3 p.m., while I was upstairs gaming with headphones on, someone had walked up our driveway, gone to the side door of the garage and tried the handle. It opened. They'd walked into the garage, looked around for about 20 seconds, then left. They'd been checking to see if they could get in, and they'd come back that night knowing they could. The officers told me to call my parents and not stay in the house alone. I called my mom, and she completely freaked out. She wanted to fly home immediately, but I told her the police said it was okay if I stayed somewhere else. My friend Mike's parents let me crash at their place for the rest of the week. My parents came home 2 days early anyway. My dad installed new locks on every door and then added more cameras. We also got an alarm system that makes a loud beeping sound whenever any door opens. The police never found out who it was. They said there'd been a few similar incidents in our neighborhood. People checking for unlocked doors and garages during the day, then coming back at night. They thought it might be the same person or group. I'm 20 now, living in a dorm at Penn State. I won't stay anywhere alone anymore if I can help it. When I do go home for breaks and my parents aren't there, I triple check every single lock in the house. I also check the garage camera compulsively, like every 10 minutes, and I definitely never chase anyone again. Looking back, they could have had a weapon. They could have been waiting for me. I got really lucky that all they did was run. I still get anxious when I hear garage doors opening. Even in other people's houses, that sound makes my heart race. I was 22 when this happened, living in my first solo apartment in Chicago. This was November 2022. I just started a job at a marketing firm downtown and was making decent money for the first time in my life. The apartment was a studio in Lincoln Park. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I was proud of it. My parents lived in Michigan and had planned to visit me the first weekend of November. But the day before they were supposed to drive down, my dad threw his back out and they had to cancel. I was disappointed, but I told them it was fine. There'd be other weekends. That Friday night, I got home from work around 7 p.m. I'd stopped at Whole Foods and grabbed ingredients to make pasta. I'd been planning to cook for my parents, so I figured I'd make it anyway for myself. I was in my apartment, putting groceries away, when someone knocked on my door. 3 quick knocks. I looked through the peephole. It was a woman, maybe mid-30s, wearing jeans and a North Face jacket. She looked normal, not threatening or anything. "Yeah?" I called through the door. "Hey, sorry to bother you," she said. "I just moved into 4B down the hall. I locked myself out and I'm waiting for the landlord to bring a spare key. Can I use your bathroom real quick?" I hesitated. I'd seen the apartment down the hall had been empty, and there were moving boxes in the hallway earlier that week. Her story made sense, but something felt off about it. A red flag went off in my head. You're supposed to not let strangers into your apartment, especially when you're alone. My mom had drilled that into me when I moved to the city. The landlord should be here soon." "Right?" I said through the door. "Maybe just wait a few more minutes." "Please," she said. "I really have to go. It'll take like 30 seconds. I felt bad. She seemed genuinely uncomfortable, shifting from foot to foot, and she was a woman, which made me feel like I was being paranoid. Women didn't usually do home invasions, right? So I unlocked the door and opened it. "Yeah, okay. Bathroom's right there. Thank you so much," she said, stepping inside. She went into the bathroom and closed the door. I stood there awkwardly in my kitchen, waiting. I could hear the faucet running. She came out maybe 20 seconds later. "Thank you so much. I'm Sarah, by the way." "Alex," I said. "Nice to meet you, neighbor," she smiled. "I'll probably see you around." She left, and I locked the door behind her. I felt weird about it, but I convinced myself I'd done a nice thing. She seemed grateful, and nothing bad had happened. I went back to making dinner. About half an hour later, while the pasta was cooking, I went to take out the trash. I grabbed the bag from under the sink and opened my apartment door. That's when I noticed it. My key, the spare one I kept on a hook right by the door, was gone. I stood there, staring at the empty hook. I definitely remembered seeing it there this morning. I always checked it before leaving for work to make sure it was there. My stomach sank. The woman, Sarah, she must have taken it while I was in the kitchen and she was leaving. But why? Why would she take my key? I immediately thought about what she'd said, that she lived in 4B. I walked down the hall to 4B and knocked. No answer. I tried again, louder. Nothing. I went back to my apartment and looked up my landlord's number. I called him. "Hey, did someone move into 4B this week?" "4B? No, that unit's still vacant. Why?" I explained what happened. The woman, the bathroom, the missing key. He was quiet for a second. "What did she look like?" I described her. "That's not good," he said. "I'm calling the police. Don't let anyone in your apartment. Actually, you know what? Can you stay somewhere else tonight? At least until we can get your locks changed tomorrow. You think she's coming back? I don't know, but I don't want to risk it. I've heard about people doing this. They make up a story to get into someone's apartment, steal their spare key, then come back later when they know the person's not home." That made sense, but I was home. Why would she come back when I was here? Unless she was planning to come back when she knew I wouldn't be. "How would she know when I'm not home?" I asked. "She's been watching," he said. "People who do this, they watch the building. They know who leaves for work, who's gone during the day. Alex, I'm serious. Pack a bag and go stay with a friend tonight." I should have listened to him, but I didn't have any friends in Chicago yet. I'd only been there a few months, and I'd been so busy with work I hadn't made close friends. The idea of checking into a hotel felt dramatic and expensive. "I'll be fine," I told him. "I'll just push my dresser in front of the door or something. Alex, I'll call you tomorrow about changing the locks." I hung up and went back to my dinner, but I'd lost my appetite. I dumped the pasta in the trash and started looking up how much hotel rooms cost nearby. They were all $200 plus. I decided to stay. I pushed my small dresser in front of the door. It wasn't heavy enough to really stop anyone, but it would at least make noise if someone tried to come in. I also stacked some pots and pans on top of it that would fall and crash if the dresser moved. I felt ridiculous doing it, like I was being paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I tried to watch Netflix to calm down, but I kept checking the door. Around 11 p.m., I finally decided to try to sleep. I left all the lights on in my apartment and kept my phone next to my pillow. I must have dozed off around midnight because I woke up to the sound of my doorknob turning. I sat up immediately, my heart pounding. The doorknob was definitely moving, twisting slowly. Then I heard a key sliding into the lock, my spare key. The lock clicked open, but the door only opened about an inch before hitting the dresser. I heard a frustrated sound from the hallway. Then the door pushed harder, and the dresser started to slide. The pots and pans fell with a huge crash. I grabbed my phone and ran to my bathroom, the only room with a lock. I dialed 911 as I locked myself inside. "Someone's breaking into my apartment," I whispered to the dispatcher. "They have a key. They're trying to push the door open." She asked for my address. I gave it to her, my voice shaking. "Officers are on the way. Stay where you are and stay on the line with me." I could hear the door open fully now. Footsteps in my apartment, slow, deliberate. They were looking around, and then I heard a voice. A man's voice, not the woman from earlier. "Where are you?" he called out, like it was a game. I didn't respond. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding my breath. Footsteps approaching the bathroom. The handle turned. Locked. "Come on," the voice said. "Open the door. We just want to talk." There was more than one person. I heard sirens outside. The footsteps stopped, then rushed footsteps, running. My apartment door slammed. I stayed in the bathroom until the police knocked and identified themselves. Even then, I made them slide their badge under the bathroom door before I opened it. There were 2 officers. They'd seen 2 people running from my building, a man and a woman, but they'd gotten away in a car parked down the street. They checked my apartment. Nothing was taken, but my dresser was pushed over, and some of my stuff had been gone through. My laptop was sitting on my bed. They'd definitely been about to take it. One of the officers found something else. On my kitchen counter, there was a note that hadn't been there before. Written in marker, "Next time, lock your door before you let strangers in." The officer showed it to me. "You let someone in earlier." I told them about the woman, Sarah, and the missing key. They took the note as evidence. They said the same scheme had been happening in a few neighborhoods. Someone knocks, makes up a story about being locked out or needing help, gets inside long enough to steal a spare key or unlock a window. Then they come back later to rob the place. The officer asked why I hadn't left when my landlord told me to. "I thought it'd be fine," I said. "I thought I was being paranoid." "Paranoia keeps you safe in the city," he said. My landlord came over at 1 a.m. and changed my locks immediately. He also gave me a chain lock and told me to never, ever let anyone I don't know into my apartment. I didn't sleep that night, or the next night. I ended up staying at a Holiday Inn for 3 days until I felt safe enough to go back. I'm 24 now, still in Chicago, but in a different apartment with better security. I don't answer the door for anyone unless I'm expecting them. If someone knocks claiming to be maintenance or a delivery person, I call the building manager to verify first. And I definitely never let strangers use my bathroom, no matter how desperate they seem. I still have that note somewhere in a box. The police never found who wrote it or who the 2 people were. But I think about it sometimes. If I hadn't piled those pots and pans on the dresser, if they'd gotten in quietly, what would have happened? Would they have just robbed me? Or were they planning something worse? I don't let myself think about it too much, but I also don't take chances anymore. Better to seem rude or paranoid than to end up hurt. This happened to me in April 2021. I was 20, home from college for Easter weekend. My parents had gone to visit my grandma in Florida. She'd just had hip surgery and needed help. My brother was supposed to come home too, but he bailed last minute to go on some trip with his girlfriend. So it was just me in our house in Charlotte, North Carolina for 4 days. My parents had recently installed this fancy security system, the kind with cameras, motion sensors, the whole deal. They'd gotten it after our neighbor's house was broken into over Christmas. My dad had spent like an hour before they left, showing me how to use it, how to arm it, Disarm it. Check the cameras on my phone, all that stuff. Take it seriously, he told me. This isn't just for show. If the alarm goes off, call 911 first, then call me. I promised I would. Honestly, I felt safer with the system than I would have without it. The first 2 days were totally normal. I hung out with some high school friends who were also home for break, played video games, ordered too much Chipotle. The security system was armed whenever I left the house, and at night when I went to bed. No issues. On Sunday night, around 9 p.m., I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, this is Amanda from Secure Home Systems. We're running a system test on all our devices in your area tonight between 9 to 11 p.m. You may hear some beeping or see notifications on your app. Everything is normal. No action needed." I figured it was legit. We did have Secure Home. That was the brand of our system. And it made sense they'd do maintenance or tests sometimes. I texted back, "Okay, thanks for letting me know." She replied, "No problem. If you have any issues, call our 24/7 support line at," and she gave a number. I didn't think anything of it. I went back to watching The Office on Netflix. About 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a notification from the Secure Home app. Motion detected. Front door camera. I opened the app and looked at the live feed. I could see our front porch, but I didn't see anyone there. Probably just a cat or something that walked by and triggered the sensor. Then another notification. Motion detected. Backyard camera. Then another. Motion detected. Side yard camera. I was getting notifications from all the cameras now, one after another. But when I checked the live feeds, I didn't see anything moving. Just empty views of our yard. I remembered the text about the system test. This must be part of it. They were probably pinging all the sensors to make sure they worked. But something felt off. Why would they need to trigger the motion sensors? That seemed like a weird thing to test. I texted the number back. "Hey, is this normal? I'm getting a lot of motion alerts." 3 dots appeared immediately, like she was typing. Then, "Yes, totally normal. The test activates all sensors to check they're working. Should be done in about 30 minutes. That made sense, I guess. I put my phone down and tried to focus on the TV. 5 minutes later, I got another notification. Alert, back door, open. My heart jumped. I checked the app. The back door sensor was showing as open, with a red warning. I texted Amanda. "It says my back door is open, but I know it's not. Is this part of the test too?" She replied, "Yes. Sometimes doors show as open during the test, even when they're closed. It's a known bug. You can ignore it, or just close and reopen the door to reset the sensor." I should have checked the back door in person instead of texting, but I trusted the explanation. It did sound like the kind of glitch that would happen during a system test, but just to be safe, I decided to go check anyway. I got up and walked through the kitchen toward the back door. It was open. Not wide open, but definitely unlatched and cracked about 2 inches. My stomach dropped. I knew I'd locked that door earlier. I specifically remembered checking all the doors before it got dark. I quickly closed it and locked it, my hands shaking a little. Then I texted Amanda. "The door actually was open. I definitely locked it earlier. What's going on?" No response. The 3 dots didn't appear. I waited 2 minutes. Nothing. I called the number she'd texted from. It rang once, then went to a generic voicemail. "The mailbox is full and cannot accept messages." A red flag was going off in my head now, loud and clear. I pulled up the Secure Home website on my phone and found their actual customer support number. I called it. "Secure Home, this is Derek. How can I help you?" "Hi, I got a text about a system test tonight," I said. "Is that real? A system test?" "No, we don't do system tests like that. We'd notify you weeks in advance if we needed to do any maintenance, and we'd never do it remotely. Who told you we were doing a test?" I felt sick. Someone texted me saying they were Amanda from Secure Home. "Sir, that's not us. That's a scam. Someone's trying to get you to ignore your security alerts. Where are you right now?" "I'm home alone," I said. "Are all your doors and windows locked?" I checked the back door again. Locked. "Yeah, I think so." I need you to go around and physically check every single entry point and keep me on the phone. I went to the front door first. Locked. Side door. Locked. All the first floor windows. Locked. But when I got to the basement, I found it. The basement window. The small one that faces the backyard. It was unlatched. Not open, but definitely not locked like it should have been. The basement window is unlocked, I told Derek. Okay, I need you to lock it right now. Then go upstairs and call 911. Someone may have been trying to get you to disable your system or ignore the alerts so they could break in. I locked the window and ran upstairs. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely dial 911. I told the dispatcher what happened. The fake text, the door that had been opened, the unlocked window. She said officers were on the way. While I was waiting, I got another text from Amanda. Why did you call the real number? We had a deal. I blocked the number immediately and checked all the security cameras on my phone, cycling through each feed. Front yard, nothing. Side yard, nothing. Backyard, there was someone standing at the edge of the camera's view, right by the fence line, just standing there in a dark hoodie, looking toward the house. I watched in real time as they pulled out their phone. Then my phone buzzed with a text from a new number. You should have ignored the alerts like I told you. I felt like I was going to throw up. They were out there right now, watching me. The person in the camera started walking toward the house. I ran to the front of the house, as far from the backyard as possible, and waited by the window for the police. I could hear sirens getting closer. The person in the camera stopped walking. They turned around and climbed over the fence into the neighbor's yard, disappearing from view. The police arrived, maybe 30 seconds later. I let them in, shaking and barely able to explain what had happened. They searched the whole property and the neighboring yards. They found footprints in the mud under the basement window, fresh ones. Someone had definitely been trying to get in. One of the officers explained that this was a new scam they'd been seeing. Criminals text homeowners claiming to be from their security company, telling them there's a test or maintenance happening. The goal is to get the homeowner to ignore legitimate alerts while they break in. Sometimes they'd even tell people to disarm their systems temporarily. You did the right thing by calling to verify, he said. Most people don't. They took the phone numbers and the texts as evidence. The texts came from burner phones that were never used again. My parents came home the next day, cutting their trip short. My dad checked every single window and door in the house and added extra locks to the basement windows. I'm 23 now, and I'll never trust a text from a security company again, even if it looks legitimate. If I ever get a message about maintenance or a system test, I call the actual company using the number on their website, not the number in the text. I also won't stay home alone anymore if I can avoid it. When my parents go out of town, I either go with them or I stay somewhere else. That person standing in our backyard, watching the house, texting me in real time, I still think about it. How close they were. How if I'd ignored those alerts like they told me to, they would have gotten in. I check every door and window twice before bed now, even in my dorm. And I never, ever assume a security alert is a false alarm until I've physically checked it myself.